Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about advising for the summer and fall. So I would have emailed you with this video two sheets, two files. One is the advising worksheet and the other is the major guide. But first I want to talk about the advising worksheet, and this is a sheet that I ask that you fill out and then send back to me. And I want to stress I will not talk about advising with a student about what courses they should take until they return this sheet to me. That gives me important information that I need to be able to advise you to the best of my ability. So the first question is, do you want to continue in this major? May seem like kind of an odd question, but sometimes people don't want to continue in the major, and it's important they realize that as soon as possible so we can help them find the major that works best for them. And it is really important to reflect on that. I've had people decide, they'll see me for advising. I'll ask this question. They'll say, oh, yeah, I want to continue in it. And then 2 weeks after the next semester starts, when it's too late to change classes, they say, oh, yeah, I changed my mind. I don't want to continue in it. And it's like, well, there's not a whole lot I can do now at this point until the next semester. So this is an important thing to consider. Being a teacher is great if you like being a teacher. If you don't want to be a teacher, if you don't like being a teacher, you should not be a teacher. Is your GPA at least a 2.75? If not, what is it? Because we need to talk about a strategy to get you up there. A 2.75 GPA is required for admission into the School of Education, which is necessary to complete the major. Have you taken Education 203? That's an important observation class, and we want to make sure that you take that. That's necessary for screening. Have you passed or exempted Praxis Score? Again, that's necessary for screening. You're not supposed to take upper level education classes until you've screened, so it's very important that you pass or exempt it. Sometimes people struggle with the test, and it's important that we know your status and we help you deal with it if you do need to pass it. Are you attending FALS events? With COVID-19, of course, that makes everything very complex, but it's good just to kind of see where you're at so we can understand where to proceed with that issue. Are you on a life scholarship? That's important because it means that we need to make sure that you maintain certain GPA level and that you maintain a certain number of hours. Do you have a minor, or are you thinking of picking up a minor? If so, which one? We've tried to design the major in a way that you could pick up a minor if you want. And typically there are cases where we can have a course count both for your major and your minor at the same time. So for example, there are courses in pre-law that count both, or international studies, things like that. So, you got to take electives. It may make sense to try and put your electives together in a way that will help you pick up a minor. Then the next question is, what classes are you thinking of taking in the fall? And in particular, I want to stress this question has to be answered. I will not advise a student unless they have classes here. Right? This is very important. I'll talk more about how to do this later. Are you thinking of taking any summer classes? If so, which ones? Sometimes there's courses that are only offered over the summer. Sometimes there's courses that are only offered over the fall. And we want to make sure that if you are interested in taking classes in both the summer and the fall, that we make sure that you make the most of your opportunities. If you are thinking of taking summer classes, do you also plan on working at the same time? If so, how many hours a week are you thinking of working? And this may seem like kind of an odd question to have, but I can't tell you the number of times that I have had students take a summer class with me and do absolutely no work and fail the test. Or fail the entire class. And I'll ask them, what's going on here? Why aren't you turning in assignments? Why are you missing tests? And they're like, well, I have to work. And they'll be trying to work like 40 hours a week while taking like 3 summer classes. And generally, you don't want to take more than 2 summer classes, even without working. So in a sense, they paid to fail, right? They took the money that they would have made from their job and lost it on a course that they failed. So they would have been better to either just take the course and not work, or work and not take the course. So this is just something to try and help get you to think about, okay, can I really do everything over the summer that I want to do, or do I need to cut back? So I mentioned that we need to talk a little bit about that you need to provide a list of courses that you want to take. And I can look at those and say, okay, yeah, these make sense. How would you get that list, right? Well, one thing you would do is look at the major guide. Now, I would have emailed you a copy of it, but just so you know, this is on Lander's website. If you just do a search for major guides, you'll see a screen like this. You can see there's a secondary school certification PDF you can choose. And you'll see a sheet that looks something like this. And basically it lists each semester, each year, the courses you could take. Now I want to stress, you don't have to take, for example, Sociology 101, the second semester of your first year. That course could be taken out of sequence. It's just we had to put them somewhere. But this gives you a good idea, right? When you're trying to figure out what courses you should maybe take, this gives you an idea of where to find them, right? You look at the major guide and you're like, oh, I'm a sophomore in my first semester. So let's look and see if I've taken the classes for the freshman and the first semester, second year. Oh, I've taken all those. Well, let's look at the second semester for a sophomore. So this is the way that you can kind of see what courses you need to take. Now, some courses have to be taken at a certain time. So for example, History 201, that is usually only offered over the fall. And you would want to take it your sophomore year. It's too hard to take your freshman year. Junior year, you usually have other things you need to take. It's good to take your sophomore year first semester. And that's where I, as an advisor, can help you. But this is what that sheet would look like. Now, one thing you can do then is you would go back and look at your transcript, and you can use your transcript to figure out what courses you've taken, right? And you can just mark them off the list. So this, for example, is an example of a student's transcript. Like, it lists the courses they take for their fall semester that they've taken. It lists their grades, so we know that these will count, and they can just mark them off. So if we were to go back and look at that 4-year guide, for example, there's all the courses. Well, they took, you knew from this, right? They had taken History 201. So we can mark off History 201 up there, second year, first semester. They'd taken Psychology, Education 204. We can mark all those things off. So you would just take the major guide and mark off courses that you've taken. And the ones that are left, you can put down as courses that you need to take. And you can put that in your list of courses that you need to take. Right? So you could tell from this, okay, yeah, I need to take Econ 101. I need to take a lab science. I need to take History 122. Something like that. So in this way, you can use your 4-year major guide to help you answer that question. What courses am I thinking of taking? Now, how do you access your transcript? My understanding is you can do so through Bearcat Web. You would log into Bearcat Web. There should be a student menu. In the student menu, you could select student records. And from there, you would select academic transcript. And that will give you this unofficial transcript, something that looks like this, but with all of your different courses. And you could use that to figure out what courses you can take. Now, why would I ask you to do this? And there are several reasons why. And I've been kind of surprised. This is where I've had some pushback from students where they didn't want to do this. They didn't want to look at what courses they should take. They just wanted to come in and have me make them a schedule. And there's several reasons why I will not advise until someone has actually made a list. First of all, it's just important that you understand your own major, right? It's important that you understand what you're studying. In a sense, if you don't take ownership by learning about it, that's a good predictor that you're not going to do as well as you could do. So it's important that you understand your own major. And I have to stress, as advisors, we advise, but advisors are not perfect. Advisors can make mistakes. You know your education the best. You know your needs the best. So it makes sense that you would do your best also to understand your own major so that you can plot the course you need to take in order to succeed. If you're not willing to learn, you probably will not be a good teacher, right? Teachers have to constantly be learning. I can tell you, when I went through college, I never thought that I would be making my own videos. And I never thought about being an advisor. It's just that because at the universities I went to, you didn't go to a professor to be advised. So these are things I had to teach myself. And part of being a teacher is being a lifelong learner. So that's something we also need to keep in mind. And as a teacher in the future, you'll need to understand how such things work to be able to do your job effectively and serve your students well. Teachers have to deal with bureaucracy. Teachers have to navigate different online platforms to find information to be able to make good choices for themselves and to guide their students. So it's important to get in that habit here. And finally, I should note, if you are too busy to do this, you are too busy, right? Like this is where I've had students, I think, have been the most kind of, at least the sense I got from the responses was they just felt, well, I'm too busy. Why aren't you doing this for me? And if you're too busy to take a few minutes to understand your major and the class you need to take, you're simply too busy, right? That means that's a good sign you need to cut back And one thing I have to stress, I think the secondary school certification major is great. I think we have something like 100% employment rate for students who successfully complete the major. But I do need to stress that a lot of people fall by the wayside. A lot of people drop out. And most of the time, it's because they've overcommitted. They're trying to do things other than simply succeed at the major. And this is a major that really does require your attention. So if you're too busy to try and understand your major, you're simply too busy. But that's a kind of explanation of why I do this. So I'm happy to advise you. I'm happy to answer questions. Please do let me know. And I look forward to talking to you and for a great end of the spring, a great summer, and a great fall.